How you doing, y'all? And welcome to Confidence. It was very hard for me to even say the intro of this podcast. I'm also sounding a little nasally. There's allergies going around in Arizona. Don't know what's happening, but I feel like I'm about to die. I could barely breathe. I actually trimmed my nose hair. You can't tell unless you're watching the video, but it's very strange. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's nothing in my face but everything. That sounds fucking weird. I don't know how I started off with this, because this podcast has nothing to do with allergies. It has nothing to do with even just the way that my face is feeling. Has everything to do about the way that I'm feeling internally. Today's podcast, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's been very hard for me to sit down and record this one. I've been pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off. And the reason I've been pushing it off, I said pushing it off again, is because I just wanted to feel comfortable in the way that I was going to tell this story. And I think I needed some time for this situation to process a little bit. And what I'm all going to say is this is like, I'm going to tell a story today, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not extremely proud of the actions that I took in this situation. I hold myself to a higher standard than what I'm going to share, the stuff I'm going to share with you today. And I don't know, I'm just going to lay it all out there. And listen, I'm going to let you be the judge, but all I'm going to say is this is, I'm not a perfect person. I never claimed to be, but I do claim to be a very honest person and somebody that has a high level of character and integrity. And I'm going to be honest with you, the actions that I took this week, to be honest, like, didn't really align with that. And that really sucks. But I think one thing about being somebody of high character and high integrity is, you know when you fuck up, you know when you make mistakes, you know how to take accountability when you hurt people or when you do things that are not in alignment with your values. And that's really what happened to me this week. We're going to get into it. It's a very deep story about my situation. And then what I'm going to do is at the end, I'm going to give you two examples of two client stories as well that somewhat fall in alignment with the story that I'm about to tell today, just in a different way. But I think this podcast is going to be an awesome lesson. I think the overarching lesson that you're going to hear, and I want you to really feel throughout this, is a couple things. Like, if you are not in alignment with that other person's values, or you're not in alignment with that person in some way, and there's something underlying in this relationship that you're in that you were ignoring, it's going to come out eventually. My whole point is this is authenticity never lies. You know, what's real will always come true. That's the facts. What's real will always come true. And you can sit here and try to deny it. And a lot of the times what happens is our brains, they create these false narratives, right? The whole idea of like romanticizing somebody. You know, our imaginations are very powerful. And I was even giving this example to one of the clients I was working with today. And I've been reading this book on happiness and talking about how we're the only animal on earth, or I think ever, the thing that makes us humans different than a fucking dog or a monkey, right? What makes a human, right? Our minds, right? Consciousness. But what is consciousness? The difference between us and everything else is that we have the ability to predict what is going to happen in the future. That's what consciousness is. It's being able to use the things and the sensory things that happen to you and create things into the future. We could use our imagination, stuff that we've made up in our brains, and create something into the future. And we could predict things into the future. Think about your dog, right? Yes, he has the senses of remembering, where he's getting his food or where he takes a piss, but generally they're living very much so in the present, right? Every being in this earth, right? It's like poop, shit, fuck. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're doing all the time, right? They're just surviving. They're doing their thing. They're not thinking about the future. That's the difference between a human being and an animal, right? Is our ability to quickly be able to create plans and discern and try to manipulate the future. But what's also insane is our imaginations are so powerful that the pleasure that we have from a current experience, like a present experience, and our ability to imagine that experience, we can live that same experience, the pleasure of that experience equally, not just in reality, but also in our imagination. That's why they say sometimes the anticipation of something is just as powerful as actually having it. The anticipation of making $1 million is sometimes stronger, the pleasure of it, than when you actually do make the $1 million, right? The happiness that you thought that you were going to get is maybe not the same once you have the actual thing that you really want, because our minds are very powerful. Now, I'm going on a fucking tangent that right now is unnecessary. Let me stop fucking beating around the bush and let's get into it. All right, so here's what happened. So obviously on the last podcast, Not That Into You, I described, oh, by the way, really quickly, go buy Breakup Bootcamp. It's out right now. Fucking awesome. I put together a fat course for anybody that's struggling with rejection or anybody that's struggling with their self-worth or going through a relationship change, and they really need a boost. I mean, it's a lot of the things that I teach, just jam-packed into one fucking course. It's amazing. It's in my link tree. Just click the fucking link in the bio. Not that hard. Come on, it's not that hard. Anyways, great shit. Go buy it. It's out right now. Yes. Anyways, back to the story. So last podcast, Not That Into You, right? I was talking about how, damn, I'm like on the fence with this girl. Like I'm like unhappy, right? I don't like the long distance. I don't know if I could really do the long distance, but I really love this girl. Like she's fucking awesome. Like she's everything that I feel like I would want, right? Because the other thing is, we haven't really spent the amount of time with each other to really know that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I even tell her, you know, to her face, I'm like, listen, I feel like you're somebody that I would want to be with and want to share that time with. The hard part is I don't know exactly where it would end up in the future. I could sit here and tell you you're my fucking wife, but I've known you for 4 months and we haven't had that time spent in person to really determine whether or not that's true. And right. And some things you can't figure out just by, again, you know, I don't know, speculation. But this is what I'm talking about with the romanticization, is that sometimes we create these ideas in our head about what things are instead of living in and understanding, oh shit, there's a reality that I'm living in that maybe I'm ignoring for that imagination. We're going to talk about that too, where last week I was like having these deep conversations with her. And, you know, obviously I started kind of having the conversation with her that, you know, I didn't really want to do long distance. And it was very difficult for me to do, right? Like I had to wait till she came back from vacation. And then when I recorded the last podcast, essentially the place that we left off was I kind of told her that I'm unhappy doing this and I just want to kind of figure out where things go. And we kind of left it up in this like gray area of, all right, we're not necessarily fully done, but also at the same time, you're knowing that I'm unhappy. You're seeing that I'm unhappy. You're feeling that I'm unhappy. I'm telling you that I'm unhappy with the situation that we're in. But the other part of me is still pulling on and still holding on to this idea of like, well, I do really like you and I don't want to lose you, right? And to me, this is where the critical mistake has happened. Because to be honest, and a lot of you guys even made comments to me. You guys have sent me messages or you guys put the comments on the Spotify or on the YouTube. And you were saying, yo, we see it clear as day, bro. Like you're unhappy, like with the situation, you got to let it go. You know, and I see that and it's hard, you know, because it's one thing to know that in your heart that it's not the right thing for you. But it's another thing when you're looking at that girl on FaceTime and you know that there's parts of you that really do like her, you know, and we have built such a strong friendship and a bond, you know, even though it is long distance, you know, that's the person I talk to every day, day in and day out. And this is why I'm actually feeling kind of fucked up about this situation a little bit. But anyways, so Saturday comes, right? So this is the day after I record the podcast and we essentially have a really long FaceTime conversation. And this FaceTime conversation, it's just really more of the same, right? It's just more of me talking about how I really am just unhappy with this situation and I don't know what's going to happen, because the other thing is she has this break coming up and we're talking about potentially seeing each other, but also at the same time telling her like, I'm just like, I don't know if this is right for me, right? Like I'm telling you guys, like, I think that I knew deep in my heart, that conversation with my therapist, I knew that honestly, I think this is really what it comes down to is like, I don't want to be in a long distance relationship. And I just wasn't leaning into that truth hard enough. And that's where I misstepped in this whole process. But just to kind of give you guys a little bit of color on what the conversation kind of was that Saturday night is, by the time she had gone to sleep, because that's the thing, because she had work the next day on that Saturday, right? It was Saturday night into Sunday. This was something she texted me Sunday morning, right? Sunday morning, my time. She said, I still feel anxious because it feels like you don't want to do the distance. And the vibe I got last night, talking about the conversation we just had, was that you want to part ways on good terms. Your feelings are valid and I understand them. I just don't want to be on a roller coaster with you being unsure. And then she asked if I would come to New York to see her. Now, before that text message even happened, let's rewind. That Saturday, right? Saturday night, me and her having this long conversation. Again, we get off the phone. I go downstairs. My mom is here. She's visiting me from New York. So my mom is downstairs. I think it's about like 9:15, almost 10 o'clock. I come downstairs. This is Saturday night. And my mom is like, I'm like talking to her. I'm like, Mom, I'm like, fuck. She's like, who are you talking to? I was like, oh, blank. She's like, I'm sorry to hear that. Like, I know it's hard. She's like, I feel like, and it's just very difficult to have that conversation. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's like, it's just hard. She's like, all right, I think I'm going to go to bed. She's like, what are you going to end up doing? I was like, I don't know. I think I'm going to edit the podcast. I was like, but to be honest, like, I don't know. My friend just hit me up. Like they're going to some like warehouse party tonight. And, I don't know. I was thinking about potentially doing that. My mom is just like, Chris, you work so much. Like, you only live one life. That's what she told me. And she always tells me this because my mom is always pushing me not to work because the way that, I don't know if you guys don't really know my work schedule, but I really be working all the time. Like that's my shit. I find it really enjoyable to be in my workflow, doing my thing, eating my meals, going to the gym, like reading my books, like going out is fun. I have a really good time. Don't get me wrong. I'm a veteran. You know what I mean? I've been doing it for a long time. But it's just really hitting that point where like, I like to pick my spots. It's not that I don't want to chill with people though, because I really do enjoy that experience. Like I'm a different animal when I get out there. You know what I'm saying? Like I really do. I have a good time. But with that being said, she's like, Chris, you only live once. Like, why don't you just go out and you just like worry about it tomorrow? I was like, all right, cool. Why don't I do that? Fine. Fuck it. So I choose to go out. I have two of my friends. There's like two different people. One girl's at a different warehouse party. My one friend, my therapist friend. And then my other set of friends hit me up. They're like, yo, we're going to this fucking warehouse party. It's fucking Dr. Fresh and fucking Bijou, some house artists. I'm like, fire. Like, that sounds like fun. Like, whatever. I need to go let loose. I've been having a lot of hard conversations with this girl. Last week was so draining. Like, think about it. I've been having these conversations with her for weeks now, almost, it seems like. But really this last week has been like, really the hardest. So long story short, fuck, I can't believe I just said that. Cause you guys already know. So I go out, I'm like, oh, like who are you with? She's like, oh, it's just like me and my friend, blank and blank. I was like, okay, cool. I don't want to drop names. I get there, right? We go to this warehouse party. It's me, a dude that I'm good friends with, the girl that invited me, I'm good friends with. Both of these people went to my birthday party. And then there was two other girls there in the car that were driving to this thing. So we all go there. I get in their car. It's me, the guy, and then the three girls. We go to this warehouse party, fire time. The girl in the front seat hands me some ecstasy and she's like, oh, does anybody want a piece? I was like, yeah, I guess fuck it. Like, well, actually they were calling me a pussy because I was like, nah, I don't really feel like taking it. And it was already a quarter, which is not really a lot, at least for my standards. And they're like, oh, you're a fucking bitch. Like, you know what I mean? Like same, like bullshit. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I actually snapped the quarter in half, and I took some and the girl in the front took some. And we slide out. We go out to fucking this warehouse party. Shit is banging. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I had a bomb ass time. We even met up with a bunch of more people. I'm fucking thriving, dog. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I might have popped a little bit of a perk, had some drinks, did some ketamine. Yo, Shit just turned up. You know what I'm saying? You gave me a tiny bit of ecstasy, and next thing you know, I'm fucking off the wall. But you know what I mean? Listen, I know that sounds wild, but I'm a seasoned veteran. Really. I've been doing this. I've been raving for 10 years, whatever. I don't even want to consider it raving. I just consider that like light work. Listen, I'm not really a drinker because that's what it is. I like to keep a portfolio. Like I'm making it seem like I'm like doing, I know that sounds crazy to you, like a regular person. But to me, like, you know, like that could be like a prototype. That's why I don't really do this shit anymore, because this is what fucking happens. But you know what I mean? I'm not out of control. Like I'm not one of these people where I'm like, oh my God, like my eyes are rolling in the back of my head. Like I'm a fucking grown up dog. I know how much to take. I know how much feels good. Long story short, banging, you know what I'm saying? Having a bomb ass time. Honestly, it was so nice to just fucking let loose. I'm kind of like talking to everybody in the group, you know, it's nothing serious. Like I'm just out there having a good time. I didn't really think anything of it. I literally just decided to go out. I don't know, like fucking 10 minutes before I even went out, this girl literally called me and I was like, fuck it. Let's do it. Have a really good time. I mean, there's like little vibes between me and some of the people there, but it's nothing deep. Like really, it's not. You're at a place where you're all dancing. It's fun. You know what I'm saying? It's just good energy. Have a really good time. You know, on the way we start leaving, we're like, all right, like, what do we want to do? We drive to a Circle K and we're like trying to figure out what we want to do. One of the girls like, listen, I'm tired. I'm going home. And then the other two, and my friend, the dude, we're like, all right, like, where do you want to go? Like, what do you want to do? I was like, you know what? Like, why don't we go back to my place? I'll like make us some frozen pizza. And I ended up making a steak. We come back here. It's about, the warehouse party ended at 3. We didn't get back here probably until like 4:30 in the morning. We're just chilling though. You know, we're having really good conversation. You know, the guy and the girl I already knew. The other girl I've never really met before besides this night. I literally had just met her this night. You know, I don't know. She's like, all right. She's cute. But anyways, we're vibing. We're having a good time. And we're just like fucking around. We're just like talking on the couch. You know, I'm asking them like what they do and shit. Apparently, I did find out on the couch in that moment that this girl was doing OF. She's, you know, the both of the girls there had done it at one point. One is retired, I guess. So anyways, we're like having a good time. We're vibing. And this girl is like, yo, can I borrow a pair of sweatpants? And this is the girl that I've never met prior to this night. I was like, all right, cool. Now, this is where I need to be fucking real and I need to be honest with y'all, because this is just, honestly, like, in that moment, like, I did feel some sort of energy from this girl. You know what I'm saying? At that moment that this girl asked me to go give her sweatpants, I feel like I started to get the vibe of like, I know where this is going. That's when I started to feel that energy from her. And what was really tricky was, I mean, obviously I'm vibing and having a good time. You know, I'm doing what I did. You know, we go upstairs and she starts talking to me a little bit in private. Next thing you know, takes her fucking pants off to put the fucking sweatpants on. Starts like twerking, you know? And this is kind of strange. Like I'm upstairs. My mom is sleeping in the other room. You know, I'm kind of feeling a little bit weird. And I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but I was like, I can't do this right now. I literally said that. I was like, I can't do this right now. She's like, what? I was like, nothing. I was like, put your shit on. Like, let's go back downstairs. We go back downstairs. Having a good time. We're vibing. Same thing. One of the girls gets up. It's like 6 a.m. now. It's like 6:15. She's like, all right, I'm going to go home. I'll see you guys later. This girl stayed. The guy stayed. And I was like, all right, listen, like, you guys got to go. Like, I got golf in the morning. I had a golf, swear to God, I had golf with my family and my friends at 9:50. So it's 6 a.m. right now. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, all right. I was like, all right, here's the deal. I was like, you need to give me your sweatpants back. The sweatpants back. And then I was like, all right, I'll see you guys later. And then like, you guys got to go. The guy leaves. We go upstairs. I mean, you guys can fill in the blanks a little bit. I don't know. In that moment, it was what it was, you know. take my pants off. Her clothes are all off. I'm sitting on the side of my bed and she starts doing whatever she's got to do. I'm freaking out because like, first off, I'm feeling like guilty about this moment, right? I'm like, no, I was like, you know, like internally, like I was like, damn, like this doesn't like really feel good, but like, it's also a very taboo kind of crazy fucking moment. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was like the thrill of the moment, but it was also like in the back of my bones. Like I just felt like this isn't right. Like I was thinking about the New York girl, you know what I'm saying? Like I was thinking about her in that moment and like, she's looking at me like, do you want to, like, are you okay? Like this girl even asked because I was you know what I'm saying? I was hesitating. I wasn't like that full, like beastly do what I got to do self. And she was just like, oh, you know what I'm saying? It was like that energy of like, she was just like, oh, just relax. Like, I got you. I'll take care of you type energy. Eventually I'm like, all right, like whatever, we switch over, we go on the bed for a little bit. And I'm like, yo, you got to shut the fuck up. I was like, my mom is in the other room. Like, this is like, I'm tripping at this point because my mom is in the other room. I feel like I'm in fucking college again. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just so sus, but it's like taboo. So it's kind of crazy. Next thing you know, I'm like, we're like going a little bit and I like look over and the light like under my door is on and I stop her and I'm like, yo, I was like, I'm pretty sure I turned the light off when we walked in here. I'm like, did I turn the light off? And she's like, what? Next thing you know, we're like looking at each other. Light turns off. I'm like, no fucking way. I'm like looking at this girl. I'm like, yo, I can't do this. Like, this is just fucking ridiculous. Like, oh my God. At this point, I'm feeling super dumb. I'm first off, my shit's not working that well. You know what I'm saying? I'm already like being like this weird. Now I'm freaking out because my mom is now up. She fucking woke up. I'm like, yo, we gotta move. I was like, yo, let's just go downstairs. Come downstairs to the podcast room. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like at this point, I'm not joking. I sit down in this chair that I'm sitting in right now. And she's doing her thing. She's going to town. You know what I'm saying? Like she's trying to get it going. And she's like, yo, I want you to like fuck me on that table over there. But like, I just like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like hesitating. I'm feeling weird. She's like, what's going on? Like, you know, she's asking me now. Now she's like, what's happening? Like, this seems like something's not right. I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, it's just hard. Like, and I lied to her. I was like, I just stopped talking to this girl like on Friday. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just broke up with this girl on Friday. So I just feel very like strange about this moment, even though I never fully went through with that with this other person. I didn't fully get to that point. But at this point, you know what I mean? Like we're doing whatever. She's like, what do you want to do? I was like, let's just get this out. I'm not joking. I swear to God, I said this. I was like, I've already crossed this line. I was like, I'm not leaving without a nut. I know that sounds fucked up. I know. Fuck. This thing fell. What does it matter? Yeah. I was like, whatever. Anyways, you know, we finish up. You know what I mean? Like it was pretty much just oral, you know, at that point. And then me and her are talking a little bit after, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit of the story. But I was like, she's like, oh, like, it's funny. Like as soon as like our friend, like she FaceTimed me to ask me to go out, the girl that I know, and she's friends with her. She was like, oh, as soon as I found out you were coming, like, she's like, oh, I knew I was going to try with you tonight. She's like, I've been following you for years. And like, as soon as I found out that you were coming tonight, like I knew I was going to shoot my shot. She's like, what's the worst that you can say? No. She's like, it is what it is. She was like, as soon as we got back to your house, I knew that you were going to say yes. And I was like, damn. This fucking girl is vicious. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's just one of those people that's so sex forward, and it was hard, bro. She caught me in a moment where, I don't know, kind of had my pants down in a little bit of a way. So we go back, you know, at the end of this, like whatever we finish, I'm like, now I'm really feeling weird. You know what I'm saying? That Post-nut clarity was crazy. Like, I just remember feeling like, oh my God, like, I cannot believe I just did that. First off, it's 7 a.m. The sun is out. Apparently my mom tried to leave the house, but her car was in the front. So that was like, I already knew my mom had known, but anyways, we go upstairs. She's like, can I sleep over? Like, can I just sleep for like an hour? I was like, yo, no, like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I can't do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I was like, if there's any other time, like where it wasn't like this, I got golf. Like, I can't do this. I was just feeling so guilty. I was like, yo, I cannot lay down next to this girl and have her be in the bed like this. I can't, you know what I'm saying? At that point, I was like, it was all hitting me. So anyways, I think we like stand there for a couple more seconds. Then she leaves. I just walk her down. She leaves, like, not like a goodbye kiss or anything like that. It literally was just like, all right, see you later. And yeah, like, I woke up an hour later. I made it to golf somehow. My mom was like yelling at me at 9 a.m. She's like, what do you like? Are you going to come or not? I was like, I'm coming. I go to this golf. Camille doesn't bring anything up about it. She doesn't care. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, you know, what's really sus about all this is like, Camille has seen me do some sus shit in my life. For real. She really has. She just doesn't care anymore. For some reason, every single time she visits me, something weird happens. Yo, I am not like having casual sex like that, but every single time she comes here, for some reason, something fucking happens. This is not the first time I banged in the house with my mom. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have walked down with a girl before, like, that she's never seen. And like, she's like, hi. My mom's like, hey, good morning. You know what I mean? So yeah. After that, obviously, like, you know, I didn't really know what to do. You know, I was starting to rationalize it in my mind a little bit. I was like, all right, well, you guys aren't really officially dating. Like, just tell her before you guys are boyfriend, girlfriend, or, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, shit like this happens. Like, you know, guys just normally won't say anything. Like, you know, I have friends that like had hooked up with girls, like pre-relationship stage, even though they were exclusive. And they just kind of sweep it under the rug and then they have a beautiful relationship. And yeah, like, I don't know. In that moment, like that day, I like didn't really know what to say. So I was just kind of playing it cool. I didn't say anything. I just like left it as is. And then I just had a really honest conversation with my brother and I'm like, yo, like, I really don't know what to do. Like, she is really cool. Like, I do like her, but like this now has happened. I just don't know what to do. He's like, yo, he's like, Chris, like, you know, like you know who you are. Like, you know what the first step is. I was like, you're right. He's like, you gotta tell her, and you know, wherever the chips fall. You can't control that anymore. I was like, I needed that. You know, I needed that. So I FaceTime her long distance and I'm like, yo, I gotta tell you something, you know, and I just remember seeing her face just be like, no. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I had hooked up with somebody last night. She's like, who is she? You know, blah, blah, blah. Like, let me see her Instagram. I was like, yo, I don't even have her on Instagram. I have never met this girl prior to 3 hours prior to that happening, 4 hours prior to that happening. And it's crazy because, like, honestly, when we were at the warehouse, I think I said 2 words to the girl, tops. Like, it wasn't even like we were sitting there vibing the entire time. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that. It wasn't like this like premeditated thing that was just like happening. So obviously, you know how that goes. I mean, I'm sure all of you guys have experienced a conversation like that. Maybe if you're honest, I guess. Yeah, like, yeah, obviously she was very upset. She was very hurt. And honestly, this is the point in the conversation where I need to just keep it real. Any rationalization I had about doing that is so wrong. That's the lower version of me. That's the self that I wish, you know, I wish I didn't take that action. I I never wanted to hurt somebody that I genuinely give a shit about like that ever in my life. And that's the thing. Like it is cheating. You know what I'm saying? It is. I have a boundary with you, you know, like I have a boundary that we weren't supposed to emotionally or physically be with other people. Even though we weren't necessarily dating yet. And obviously we were having these conversations, but there was no excuse for putting somebody in that position. There's no excuse for hurting somebody like that. I mean, here's the other thing. I mean, you know, I guess the way I could have played it is, all right, you know, we're not together anyways, or just breaking up anyways and never saying anything. But I just knew in my heart that if I was ever going to be with this person ever again, or talk to this person ever again, or even just be cordial and real with this person or her friend, I knew at a minimum she was owed the truth. And I think honestly, we're all owed the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like honest. And that's what I'm trying to tell you is like, this is the shitty part about being one of the most honest people on the planet. That's what I try to market myself as. You know, you can't make mistakes. I mean, you can, but like the shitty part is I'm not sweeping it under the rug. You know, I'm not hiding that from you. I can't sit there and hold that. You know what I'm saying? I can't keep talking to that girl knowing that shit happened without her knowing at least. You know, I told her I was sorry. Like I felt really guilty about it in the moment. My body knew it was wrong. It really did. But it was hard. Like I didn't stop. That's the truth. The truth is I had multiple moments where I had control. We could have never came back to my place. I should have never took her upstairs to get the sweatpants. And at that point, I already knew. It was going to happen. And, you know, it just, it took over in the moment. I got caught my pants down. Literally, like it was a test for me to see where I stood in terms of that. And genuinely, I failed that. And that's it. There's nothing really more else to say about it other than like, I'm wrong. And that's what I'm saying. The lessons learned for me entirely is like, if I just would have been honest about the way that I was feeling and I had that conversation with her and I actually stood on what was true to me, I would have never been put in this position. I would have never been put in this position where I hurt somebody. Now, regardless of whether or not this went down like that, I feel like this girl was obviously going to be hurt. She's going to be hurt because we're not going to be together. And that was what the truth of this situation is. And that's what's really hard about all this in general is like, even at this point right now, it's like, I know that relationship, the way that it was structured, being long distance, it's not the right thing for me. And again, if I would have been more in alignment with my truth, if I would have been more honest about what I was feeling underneath and I actually was able to separate it and set that boundary with her, I wouldn't be feeling like this. I wouldn't have had to choose. I wouldn't have had to feel guilty. And that's what sucks is I hurt somebody with my negligence towards that. And because I didn't stand in my own truth, I ended up hurting somebody else. And that's what I'm trying to say. There's no fucking excuse for that type of behavior. There's no excuse for doing that to her. You know, I could have gone the night without doing that. Like I said, I think it was just where opportunity met my inner feelings. And I guess this is where I'm at with it is, you know, it was like, I think the reason that this happened in this way, and again, this is not an excuse for me doing that, right? I need to take accountability for not putting myself in that position and not doing that. But I think, again, reflecting back on this situation, now that I'm looking at it from a distance, I kind of felt maybe this action was a manifestation of the way that I was feeling. It was all the pressure that was being built up internally, all the stress, all the emotional weight that I was holding on to, because to be honest, I was not being real with myself. And because I was unhappy, like, of course I'm going to fuck up when I'm in this position. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's on me. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, this wouldn't have happened this way if I just would have been honest with myself and been uncomfortable and had the actual conversation and actually had the conversation of like, we don't have any more boundaries anymore. We can't keep doing this. Instead, what do? I self-sabotage and I take the easy way out? That's fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Wait, like, and that's where I'm really disappointed in my own actions in this spot, because there was a right way about going about this and I absolutely took the wrong one. Now, on the flip side of the coin, you know, I'm still working through shit like this, you know, like this isn't something that is new to me, right? Where maybe I feel underneath that something isn't right for me in a relationship. And instead of like having the honest conversation and breaking it off and giving that person their freedom and saying, fuck it, I have made mistakes like this. I'll go on a break. Like back in college, I used to go on a break with my girlfriend and then hook up with somebody and then crawl back. But again, what was the truth underneath? The truth underneath was the person that I was dating wasn't it for me, right? There was something that was missing, right? But I kept going back because it was comfortable. Instead of actually taking the action to get uncomfortable, break it off, and do my thing. And I did that again here. And that's something that I cannot allow to happen moving forward. I can't do that to people. That's not fair. So, but okay. So after this all happens, right? Obviously I tell her, she's devastated. And you know, more recently we've still been talking a little bit. And I think that there's a level of like, what are we doing here? Like, what now? And I think me and her both know what now is. The reality is I was unhappy in this situation. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to do long distance, and I could have ended it. And like, that's what's crazy is she even texted me that night and said, I have this vibe that you don't want to be in this and you want to not do this, but still, you know, end this on good terms. And that's what I'm trying to say is like, that truly was my intention. And now it's like I created a mess. And I guess that's what I wanted to relate to you. And I really want to challenge you in this particular situation is like, yo, if you know what your truth is, like, you're only going to fuck up more if you're not fucking living honest with it. You know, it's like, if you know that there's something in your relationship that is not right, or there's an underlying value, whether it's you don't want to do long distance or whether it's, you know, you don't like something, address it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to be in a relationship where you are unhappy because you are going to start fucking up and making mistakes. And that's what's crazy though. It's like, it's not that I was unhappy in the relationship. I was unhappy with the boundaries on the relationship because I didn't want to do long distance and I was accepting less than what I wanted, and all this emotional buildup, it was fucking up my work. It was fucking up every single day. I was constantly thinking about this all day long. And that's what's so shitty about all of this is like, now that this has happened, like, and we finally have broken these boundaries, I feel at peace. That's what's fucking wild. Is like, I'm the one who now comes out of this and is almost like, oh, wow, this feels nice. I haven't felt like this in a while. But we both could have been feeling like that. Maybe she would have been hurt still, you know what I'm saying? Not having me and knowing that she wanted to continue, right? Of course it's going to hurt. And I think we're still going through that now because we're still talking. But we're hitting that point where we're having conversations where it's like, it's only going to hurt us more to keep going. It's only going to hurt us more to keep talking. But I didn't have to do it in this way where she got hurt like that. And that's where it's unfair because now I'm sitting in a position where I look like a massive dick. You know what I'm saying? I am, and I acted like a massive dick. And it wasn't appropriate. But now I'm sitting here and I feel okay and at peace But now this girl has to live with the idea that I did that to her. Like, that's fucked. Again, I think she still was going to have to experience some hurt from this, because I think in some ways the relationship was working for her. You know what I'm saying? It was in alignment with what she wanted. So now she has to accept something that she doesn't want to, which is maybe this isn't going to work. Maybe we're not in alignment. And to be honest, it's just not. It's just not. And honestly, that's what I'm trying to say. It sucks, but like I've been more at peace. Like my work has been better. I've been able to focus finally. And that's what sucks, is like knowing that I had to do all that for me to feel this way. But I think that's the big thing. The overarching, again, theme of all of this is, if you are in a relationship that is causing you stress, or like, you know, and people are telling you like, oh, well, it's just you, focus on yourself, like you're going to make it through. It's like, no, I'm actually the advocate now that's like, no, handle the relationship first. If you have a truth that you have not expressed, or you are living in this relationship where you are accepting less than what you want, you need to get that figured out. Because me not figuring that out was putting my whole life on pause. And again, it's not her fault for that. I was pleasing in a way. And that's what's weird as shit about all this, is like, I'm essentially people pleasing, right? Because I'm trying to make this girl happy, knowing that I do want to be with her. It's like, I want to. And like, I'm agreeing to something that I'm like, maybe I don't really want to agree to. So let me bring up the other two situations that I was kind of working with in terms of my clients as well. And I'll give this situation a little bit more color. So I also have this, girl I'm working with right now, and she's also going through a similar situation where the guy that she's dating is younger than her by a few years. And he actually is the one that's having her in a situationship to begin with. She wanted a real relationship with him, and he's denying her. So she's feeling like shit, because not only is this guy younger than me and kind of telling me where, that I shouldn't have this relationship, or he doesn't want a relationship, and I'm agreeing to something that I don't want to be in. But now she's also feeling like, oh shit, like there are things when we're hanging out, I feel like almost an ick because of how young you actually are. I could feel your youngness. I could feel your immaturity, right? He's doing things that she knows that she'd be doing when she was that age. And what's crazy is she's been feeling so much emotional turmoil and stress, and that's why she even started working with me in the first place. But in reality, all of this is solved, right? With, you just got to be real. You want something. You want a real relationship. You got to step up and speak up to him and tell him what it is. And if he doesn't want that, you got to walk straight up, because it is draining you. It's draining you to be in this. And above that too, and I haven't even really told her this, but she's like, oh, what I really want is a real relationship with this person. I'm like, to keep it real, like, I know that you want that, and maybe it will really work, but I'm a big believer now. And I really just see it in all of my relationships that I've ever been in. Again, if there's that underlying thing that is not in alignment, and you felt an ick about his immaturity, even if he dates you, right? Even if you upgrade to relationship, is that really going to go away? Honest. Be real. And I think this is the thing that's really tough for us in relationships, because we love these people. And this is what I'm talking about, the romanticization, right? The imagination of what was going to happen. My situation. I'm envisioning the life that I would be living if she was here. If she was here, it would be like this. When we're together, it's so great. But what's the truth? The truth is, you're not here. I'm creating that in my fucking head. The truth is homie is not going to be more mature than he is. He's not just going to magically have the life experience. It is going to feel weird. Perpetually. Honestly. Maybe he figures it out. That's what I'm saying. Fucking go for it. At the end of the day, you need to figure that out for yourself, right? Maybe you do actually ask him for the boundaries. He does date you, and maybe you guys have a great relationship. Maybe. But if I had an inkling of the things that I've been doing, and I've been coaching these people for so long, and it's seeing it in my own experience, I'm starting to recognize that those things that we sweep under the rug, the truth that we know deep down in our fucking bones that we choose to ignore because we want the comfort, we want the love, we're afraid to lose people. It's fucking ego, right? It's our ego, and it's us not wanting to get uncomfortable because comfortable being in something where it's safe and it's certain, even though it's not, again, everything that we want. But what is real is what is going to happen. What is real is what is real. That's what I'm saying. I denied it for so long. And look where I ended up. I ended up hurting this person when I could have ended it on cordial terms. Even in this situation, it's like, you know that you guys are not in alignment. Have that conversation. I mean, maybe, again, upgrades a relationship. I mean, she could easily get it now that she's working with me. Dead ass. I'm like, this is light work. We'll eat this kid up in a second. No offense. And to be honest, he's already tripping because we've been starting to work on the boundaries with him. But again, I'm even foreseeing it into her future, and she's probably gonna listen to this too, and she's gonna kill me. I love you to death, but I don't know if that's really gonna work out long term. I really don't. Let's go to another situation. I have another client. She's also gonna fucking kill me because she might listen to this too. Where she's potentially getting back with her ex, and this guy that she's met and she's known for a very long time. I'm not going to get into the details, but let's just say, long story short, things didn't work out last time because I'm going to call it a partying problem. And to be honest, the person I'm working with, the girl, yes, there is definitely things that she could take accountability for, that she's a little bit controlling. She's a little bit trying to change this person, right? And I think that's where they clash, right? But one of her values, and we've done non-negotiables together, one of her non-negotiables is she does not want somebody that abuses drugs or alcohol. And here's the thing, to be honest, if you guys knew her story deeper, you would understand why. It puts her in fight or flight when she sees that type of behavior in a person. She's seen it at home when she was growing up, and she has seen it in her own relationships. And what's really hard is the person that she's with. Isn't it crazy? Isn't it wild how the patterns happen with the family history and all this shit? This guy is somebody that likes to have a little bit of fun. And they're trying to rekindle this flame. And that's the thing. This time it feels a little bit different because they're both a little bit older, a little bit more mature. But one conversation I'm telling her to have, I'm like, listen, you got to know yourself. You have to know that you cannot be with somebody that drinks like that or that does these things. Honest, you can't. Because if you know that's an underlying value, you know that it puts you in fight or flight, you know that that is not something you want in a partner, listen, you got to understand that that partner is not going to turn around and tell you and be like, he's not responsible. My whole point is the other person that we're talking to is not responsible for you upholding your values. You get what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. The long distance girl that I was talking to is not responsible for ending the relationship if I know that I can't do long distance. This other girl, right, that's dating the guy that's a little bit more immature than her, he is not going to, and he's not responsible for ending this relationship over that because he also doesn't see that either. And let me ask you this question. The other person that you're dating also loves you and it also appreciates you. So if you even tell them, hey, you know what I mean? I don't really like that you do this. What are they going to tell you? Oh yeah, like I'm going to stop, or like, that's not really me. But you got to know your truth. That's what I'm trying to say. The long distance girl, she doesn't want me to break up with her. So what is she going to do? She's going to hold on. And rightfully so, right? Because she's happy with it. She's going to be like, oh, well, we can make this work. All right, what can we do? How can we make this work? They're going to put it in front of your face and say, here, here, here. I'm going to give you some of that, right? I'm going to change my behaviors for you. But what is real is always real. And that's what I'm trying to say, even with this last situation. I told her, I'm like, listen, you got to have an honest conversation with this guy. Yo, this is how I feel about this. This is how I feel about this. I can't really be with somebody that is going to come home drunk. I can't. That doesn't work for me. Like, are you able to handle that? Is that something that you want to participate in? More than likely, what is that person going to potentially say? I mean, maybe I could do that, but here's the problem with that. What happens now? Homie goes out, parties, and hides it from you. He's going to hide it from you. And she doesn't really know the full truth because they're not living with each other. She's like, I don't want to get back in there, start living with him again, and then start recognizing, holy shit, you're still doing this shit, and you just weren't telling me. Relationships are not simple. They're not fucking easy. But here's my whole point, and I think to all three of these situations is this. I think a lot of the times it's hard when we find somebody that we vibe with. It's hard when we find somebody that there's a lot of chemistry with, that they're attractive. Listen, we're also human beings too, right? We don't want to be alone. We don't want to be on our own. When we find somebody that is coming to us and wants to spend time with us and is our friend and is our best friend, right? All these people that I'm mentioning in all these stories, these are the people that we are talking to the most on a daily basis. They know you better than the people that are your friends or that your family sometimes. Separating that connection because of an underlying value difference is fucking hard. It's hard. But I guess what I'm really trying to say is you can ignore that all you want, but you got to know what it is that you value. You got to be really fucking real with yourself. And then you got to be really real with the other fucking person. And the hardest part is being able to communicate to that to them and also being disciplined to it. Holy fuck. You want to talk about impossible? That's hard. That's fucking hard. But I think this is why a lot of people are in relationships that maybe don't seem that very healthy on the outside, right? You get a lot of these relationships that you probably see that are your friends or whatever, and they're fighting all the time, and you're like, man, I don't want a relationship like that. But what happens? We all end up in relationships like that. You know what I'm saying? We're like, oh, we don't want to be like them. I don't want to be like, my mom, like, you know what I mean? She got divorced and blah, blah, blah. Look at where I'm sitting. I'm here alone once again. Look at, my other client, right? Her family have a little history of, the mom being unhappy with the dad and him not being enough. And it's crazy. We say we don't want to be like these people or we don't want these type of relationships. But if we accept that value difference underneath and we don't address it, number one, that's what I'm trying to say is like, I think you will feel like if you are feeling like emotional turbulence, like for me, it's fucking wild. Since that moment happened and since we have actually broken the boundaries, I have had the most clear-headed days I've had in months. Honest. And I guess what I'm really trying to say is like, if you are feeling that emotional pressure, stress, and you're in a relationship that you know that you're accepting something that you shouldn't, and because you know what it is too. It could be anything. It could be anything. That's what I'm saying. For me, it was a distance. For this girl, it was the drinking. For this girl, it was lack of maturity. Maybe not masculine enough. It doesn't matter what the thing is. But if you are living in a relationship like that where you know that something there is missing and then you're not feeling very good every day of your life and you're kind of feeling this emotional turbulence every day, there's only one way to solve that. And I guess what I'm trying to tell you is there is a whole bunch of peace on the other side of having that conversation or actually getting uncomfortable and expanding yourself and being able to have that conversation and maybe breaking away from that relationship. I know it's fucking uncomfortable, but that's what I'm trying to say is like, you think that it's easier to stay in the relationship. And I'm like, no, actually, in fact, you're wrong because you're stuck in the comfort zone and the comfort zone is actually uncomfortable, believe it or not. It's like a pimple waiting to be popped. That's what you're in, right? That's what this situation was for me, right? It was a pimple ready to be popped. And again, instead of me addressing it and having the conversation, setting the boundary and clearing my name and allowing myself to do what I want and to experience this peace without guilt, I didn't have the conversation. The pimple popped. And instead of both of us being at peace, I have now hurt the other person. So what do you want to choose? And honestly, because my whole point is the pimple's going to pop at some point. You got to be the one that, and that's what I'm trying to tell you from my experience, like Choose the thing that is right. The thing that is right is hard. The thing that is hard is you having an uncomfortable conversation with them, or you potentially splitting up from them before you do something stupid, before you do something to hurt somebody. And I know we've all been there. I mean, even the clients that I talk to about this, they have that same experience where like, you know, that you're starting to be done with somebody instead of actually ending it. And instead of actually giving them their peace and letting them go, you hold on. And then because you feel safe to leave, now you do. Now you feel okay. And then what? They get the shit end of the stick. And I fucking hate that. I hate that I did that to that girl. Because she's so fucking sweet and she's so kind. And she deserves a lot more than that. She deserves better than that behavior in that moment. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm the fucking worst person in the world. You know what? Shit fucking happens. That's a poor action. And I got to take responsibility and accountability for it. I'm not a complete piece of shit. I made a piece of shit move. 1000%. And I wish I could take that hurt away from that girl. Swear to God. I really do. I've been talking to her every day, which is probably not even healthy. But I feel guilty. I feel guilty for her feeling this way, and I want to support her. But none of that would have happened if I just stepped up. I didn't take that action, and I would have been honest and more in alignment with my truth. When you live in alignment with your truth, that is when you are going to be most happy. When you are honest with everybody around you and with yourself especially, that is when you find peace. For real. You know, I know that was a heavy one. And I know it's hard. And it sucks because, you know, like I want to help people with this stuff. I don't want to be an example of what not to do. You know, I don't want that. Again, I'm human. The shit fucking happens and it sucks, but the truth prevails. You know what I mean? That's really what it comes down to is I didn't want to be in this situation and I just went about it the wrong way completely. That's it. When in reality, I should have just left it and we both could have just had a little bit more joy than what I'm experiencing right now. Well, here's to new beginnings, you know, for me and for her. I want nothing but the best for her. You know, I was even thinking, I'm like, you know, if we ever like started talking and I told her, I was like, yo, like it honestly crossed my mind that she could have a hall pass. Swear to God, swear on my life. I know that sounds dumb. Like, I'm like, that's crazy. You know, obviously that would fucking be weird, but I have to accept that I fucked up like that. And I mean, at the end of the day, though, I think me and her both understand that it's not going to, we can't really continue past this, you know? Like, yeah, we could be cool. And I maybe like, because I was honest, maybe one day down the road, if things align, we can potentially figure something out. But to end it like that is so sour on something that honestly was really solid. All right. It's time to get to work. It's time to rebuild. It's time to take some time and just live and enjoy. I'm with my mom, you know, be with family and, yeah, come back, attack it next week. And back to the grind, back to work, back to trying to live in my truth a lot better. And yeah, shitty. And again, I just want to apologize to this girl one more time because I'm sorry I hurt you like that. You didn't deserve that. I hate that you got to feel that. I was wrong. Full accountability. It was stupid. All right. I'll talk to you guys next week.